So I think I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Thank you for everybody being here today. I didn't have my principal voice on. Sorry. I'm kidding. Matt, I'll turn it over to you to start with the district update. I know you've got to finish chewing your cookie.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to talk a little longer.
No.
Miscalculated. You have to just give me a second here. So today, district update wise, I have some more probably positive news to start with and share, just with some of the elements of different things we've been working on. The first one would be in regards to the tax rate. So we, of course, first published a max tax rate. What we've been able to come back and do as we've done some more work on what that levy rate would be, what you'll see proposed to the board on the 28th, and it's uploaded and attached there that now this afternoon is a FY 27 tax rate of 1670 or 1671. Last year's tax rate was 1610, but FY 25 was 1681, and so we're below the FY 25 tax rate, up from last year, of course, but down to that 1670 number for this year in comparison to FY 25. Two big reasons for that. One is just zeroing in on the management fund and what the tax would create for a balance there for us on our management fund levy of the management fund portion of the levy, excuse me. And then the other thing is the change in the budget guarantee with the state's adjustment on that. That was another 4-cent reduction off of there. So again, it's up some, but it's lower than a comparable rate we've had here recently. We also have some neighboring districts in the presentation there. If you look on the 28th, that you can tell kind of where we stack up, and it's reasonable. It's below Clear Creek Amana's rate as far as a neighbor comparison. It's well below Linn-Mar. So I think that's a piece of good news to share as we've zeroed that in. Some of the ongoing reconciliation and audit work, the audit field work for FY24 is complete, and that's pending a final report. We think we'll get the draft of that in mid-May. We have FY25 substantially reconciled, and we're even doing some work on FY26, kind of working backwards as our finance team continues to work. They'll turn the page then right away on the 27th here on Monday to prep for the FY25 audit, which we want to plan to have that delivered in December. So the goal is there for December, and then we'd be back on schedule for FY26. Our need for borrowing is something that's obviously we've talked a lot about at the board table. Again, as we continue to reconcile accounts and bring things more up to date, we think our situation's vastly improved since we communicated out the need for the $25 million for that anticipatory warrant. So when PFM was with us, they really showed a worst case scenario, and so we actually just amended the agenda today that will bring back a more accurate view to the board on the 28th that kind of communicates what our need looks like here moving forward. But we do feel like we're going to be in a much more positive position there for those upcoming June 1st timeframes, and then close of the fiscal year for June 30th. So again, we'll have a more substantive update on the 28th for the board and community at that time. There's likely to be a presentation loaded up over the weekend from PFM as well. So they've been working on that here throughout the day today. Our CFO starts on May 13th, so we're excited to welcome Pat Moore from Solon. She'll be coming over on the 13th of May. We've had some ongoing engagement with her throughout. She's going to visit a couple days early before she starts, so she's excited and ready to get going. The School Budget Review Committee, we were supposed to have a hearing with them today. That got pushed to June, so we won't be meeting with them until June 9th. On that meeting, we'll likely have the board approve some updated materials for that. We have a negative adjustment on a save expense that needs to be factored into our spending authority, but then we also now have a positive adjustment in regards to some things that were spent out of the general fund that should have been spent out of PEPL. So that will assist our spending authority in a positive way. And then finally, kind of the other thing that I think will be next for kind of district business in regards to funding and timelines as facilities and what we have the ability to do or not do in regards to facilities. And so we'll have to do some work with board about priorities and capacity to do those. We didn't make as far as we thought we would this week because of some of the other happenings in regards to the borrowing and needing to figure that out on a short timeline, but that's coming up next for us as far as something we need to tackle and try to regroup on a plan for. So those were the kind of the substantive updates I had to provide to you. Happy to answer any questions back to any of those items. Thanks for coming, by the way. I know it's been a
Yes.
long week. I should have started with that.
Yes. And on it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just keep going.
That's sort of one, that's like more the, two questions. One, how is this or is this not impacting hiring and retention for this coming year? And how do you deal with no credit rating?
Yeah, so the no credit rating, we would obviously can't borrow until we have a credit rating. That's why it's imperative for that FY '25 audit to try to get delivered by December, because then that would allow us to entertain options in the spring that would position us well to at least go back and ask for that rating. PFM has shared, the municipal advisor has shared that you really wouldn't be able to obtain another one until you would have a need to go borrow. And so that would be the other thing for us to consider is, you know, is there a need at that time? Is there a willingness to do it at that time? And is that the right time to do that? So for the time being, it doesn't really affect ongoing business, but obviously limits our ability to go borrow in the future until we have that. The other thing that she's also mentioned that I know she'll share with the board on Tuesday is the cash balance at the end of June is important for what that rating will look like. And so having as flush of a cash balance as we can on June 30th will help position the district better for credit rating when you go to apply for that next fiscal year.
As far as hiring and
Yeah.
retention?
Oh, sorry, I skipped over that one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you go ahead. I was
Yeah.
going to say, I don't know that we know yet.
Yeah, I mean, we've, obviously been not backfilling a lot of positions. That was part of our budget reduction. So we've been handling those all through attrition. We didn't have to separate employment from anybody for budget reasons. People have taken on new roles or we've shifted them into different positions in the district, but we didn't do any reductions in force or those typical terms you would hear that way. We moved on some hard to fill positions right away. I think our principals have been satisfied with the candidates they've been seeing that way and still getting good applicant pools into the teacher positions. Administrative wise, we've had an opening at Tate High School and then we have a current opening at Liberty. We have external applicants for the Liberty job. Tate, we just did an internal process there and we'll soon have a candidate to recommend that way.
Thanks.
Legislative update?
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
You guys have the budget on, don't you have the budget on your?
Yeah, so we're not scheduled to debate Republican budget proposals on Monday. It's not clear to me that all of those are agreed on with the Senate, and so
At this time, I do not expect to be debating the education budget on Monday in the House, despite the fact that it is on the calendar, but within the week, for sure.
I mean, I think it's funny, I ran into Stephen Gruber Miller, who is the politics reporter for the Des Moines Register this week on Tuesday, which was the 100th day of the session, supposed to be the last day. And he told me, he was working on his story about what we have to get done before we can adjourn. And I asked him if he just copy pasted his story from the first day. But, essentially the three major issues that everyone said were going to be the focus of the session, there's not resolution on any of them. And so those discussions are ongoing between House and Senate Republicans and the governor, but we shall see.
Yeah, I would say one of the highlights, actually the highlight of my week, speaking legislatively, was, I spent a good amount of energy last year working on the Purple Star School Initiative, and to have two of our three high schools in the inaugural group was huge.
Yeah, thanks
and
for saying that. That was great, yeah.
Really wonderful, and great, always wonderful to see some of our folks from home at the Capitol. I may have pointed out, possibly to the Lieutenant Governor, the oddity of having a school recognition event in the middle of the school day on a Thursday, in terms of people being in attendance. But other than that, that was really great, and nice to see a little bit of fruition of the work that I did last year coming back home.
So my understanding is that the House and Senate now have actually agreed on their budget numbers.
Yes.
But and now that for the various budgets, the budgets, the relevant
Individual line items.
individuals
and-
on the line items, the individuals from both sides have to sit down and hammer that out and plug those into the budget bills.
That's what Margaret was saying on her video. I didn't get it all watched before I came in here, but some of the things that have yet to be plugged in that we're still missing, like that $7.5 million for support staff aid,
Yes,
that
I was-
hasn't been found yet,
Okay.
and some of those things,
Yeah.
so.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to remember, there's not a lot of differences between the House and Senate Republican education budgets that have direct district impact that I'm aware of, but there were a few.
Any changes to Save and Pebble?
Not in our version, not that I saw in the Senate version, but it was 2 weeks ago that I last looked deeply at that one. But we don't know what policy is gonna be in an eventual negotiated
Yeah.
bill that we vote on. So there was a bunch of policy in the House education budget, but it was made pretty clear that a bunch of that was a bargaining chip. And none of it was taxation related.
And SAVE, like, featured in one or two of the property tax bills that have been floating around. There doesn't, I don't have the sense, also from talking to the Republican leader on the Senate side, that there's the appetite to keep that in for a whole variety of reasons, so I'm hoping that is gone.
To not keep the SAVE portion in, Janice?
Correct. Because there are too many districts that have, that
Are
that
borrowed
have,
against it,
that are
yeah.
bonded against it out, so.
One thing that was sort of interesting, 2 weeks ago, they ran this charter school vouchers bill through the House. I don't know where that is in the Senate. But, Randy Feenstra had come out and said that, he doesn't think it's fair with the voucher program that public schools have to accept every student, but that schools accepting public money through vouchers can discriminate against students with disabilities. And so I ran an amendment saying, if you take voucher money, you have to accept every student that applies, and labeled it the Feenstra Amendment. And it was sort of interesting to see every single House Republican vote against that proposal. But that vouchers issue is becoming really hot in that Republican gubernatorial primary, which is sort of interesting to watch, just in terms of thinking about what the future of that
What is
program
the-
looks like. Yeah.
It is. So at least the Senate version, I don't know to what extent they differ of the charter school bill, ran through appropriations a week and a half ago, or like a little over a week ago, I think. And many concerns were raised. We have not seen it on a debate calendar yet. We know that they added, that in the House, they added, Republican colleagues added a whole different
Whole other thing.
thing about homeschool. I do not foresee that being welcomed with open arms by the Senate Republicans.
There's no wood in this room.
I mean, it was pretty extreme. It was,
Was it that homeschool?
that you
people
can
could
that
get
you can
money?
homeschool and charge tuition,
Charge tuition.
to other
And
to other-
capped number of non-related children and
Set up your own little school.
Which has, which also has insurance implications.
right, which is, I think,
Like,
thankful, helpful.
Yep.
I mean, that was pretty. It was interesting. Angel Ramirez from Cedar Rapids sort of pressed them on that issue, and it was quite interesting. One of the things she pointed out was like, well, if you start charging tuition for homeschool, are you going to then use the vouchers for the homeschool? So it's a whole can of worms that hopefully you guys close.
But I sure hope so. But when you look at it just from the insurance point of view, that whatever the organization, BCI, that insures schools is not going to insure somebody's home or something else, that if something happens to a kid or there's an accident or something, then
Yeah.
then what?
Well, I'm pointing out that there's no restrictions on the locations for these schools, so like it could be a barn in somebody's. Like all of a sudden you've got 250 kids that can fit in that room, and it doesn't, with homeschool you don't have set hours, so you can have a Monday class, a Tuesday class, a Thursday class.
I thought you were gonna say a bar.
I thought so too.
That was also the house floor. I don't think that's the best example, because that's easy to push back, like nobody would ever put a school in a bar, but a barn, that, we've done that, we could do that.
What was also interesting, they put in there that the regents have to take whatever sort of grades that
Diploma.
homeschool parents give their kids and treat it exactly as they would treat a GPA from one of our high schools
Yes, so
here in the
hopefully
district.
that will-
Yeah, does the House version have a bunch of stuff on preschool?
Well, there's some stuff about that preschool in Bettendorf that Scott Webster wants, and then.
Well, there's the Bettendorf preschool issue, but then there was the issue of them funding private preschools
Different
with,
bill.
it's
have
not,
that in-
right, but it's in the charter school bill on the
No,
Senate
it's
side.
not in the House side.
With in-time funds, or on-time funds, whatever we call
Oh,
them.
yeah.
So hopefully the clock runs out on that one, but
That is, that,
it's
I
pretty.
mean, I don't agree with Senator Evans on a lot, but I do think that he's going to have serious issues with that bill.
I mean, it's also pretty interesting. National NPR did a story last week on how vouchers impact the Cedar Rapids School District. I don't know if folks had a chance to
A
read
$16
that.
million.
It was really, really just a fantastic breakdown.
I will say, Margaret has been doing her job at the Capitol this session. Just credit where credit is due. She is active and she is working very hard this year.
Adam, when you said that about Cedar Rapids, it reminded me of did you guys get the language cleaned up about the retroactive action they had taken against Cedar Rapids?
That's
on
what she's
at-risk
working on.
dropout
It
prevention?
still has not been cleaned up. She's working on
I
it.
didn't think it was done.
What would
Okay.
that end up being?
I genuinely don't know. I just know they're trying to get it fixed before session closes.
I think Cedar Rapids filed suit too.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. As well they should.
Right.
And I think it's somewhere between 10 and 16 other districts that we know of that would likely be impacted if they're unsuccessful in
Yeah.
addressing the retroactivity.
I would say that's probably even on the low side.
That's,
16. Yeah.
that we know of is.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the dropout prevention plan.
So Adam, when you said the three major issues yet to be resolved, I mean, do you see some resolution happening? And I know I'm asking you guys to forecast, but I mean, will they resolve them all in some way, or you think some stuff could just get left hanging out there?
And there will be a budget bill.
Right, they'll have
There
to
will
get
be a
that done,
budget.
yeah.
Required to be a budget, that's all that will
The
require.
eminent domain issue seems like it may not.
I think it's dead for the year.
Yeah, it may be done. That's kind of amazing to me, given some of the rhetoric that was used by House leadership last year and at the beginning of this year, but I don't necessarily have a huge problem with that. And then the property tax issue, the House passed a bill this week. Almost every Democrat voted against it. Representative Jacoby, I think, did a very good job on the floor explaining some of the flaws with that proposal. And then the Senate has already passed a proposal which is very different. And so, what I've heard is that Senator Dawson is very dug in. I think that politically, it would be a big political hit for Republicans if they do not get something done. And so my guess is that something will happen.
Yeah.
But it does sound like there's a lot of frustration from folks on both sides, and they're very, very far apart. I mean, the Senate bill includes a million other provisions. I mean, there's a change in how multifamily is taxed. There's a gas tax increase.
Always popular.
Yeah.
There's not this.
Well, and we're all starting to hear from
2%.
renters in our districts because the property owners of these
because
multi-resident buildings are reaching out to their tenants.
So-
I know, although I have to say, I have limited, I would be happy if they would put in if you have fewer than X number of,
Right.
but the big.
X number of units.
The big folks, this is they got this big gift in 2013. Anyway,
They're very far apart is the point.
yeah,
And-
Yeah.
and
neither
I
here
think
nor there. I
Dawson,
think,
one of the key things is that Senator Dawson is not on the ballot this year. And so he has a different
Really no incentive to.
incentive structure than maybe some of the House Republicans do.
I think there's a, if I were a betting person, I would guess we get the budget bills done this week, and they send us home for a while they negotiate on property taxes, because I don't believe they will.
And hold out on standings.
I don't know what, they may, but I think we'll do most of the budget bills this week, and then we may be home for a while they figure out what they're gonna do
If
on
they can
property
get to an
taxes.
agreement on property taxes.
Which is problematic for anybody who has a primary, because for those.
Right, we're getting into that
So,
crunch time.
because of the ability to raise funds from
We're
certain
also
groups.
hoping to be with you at the breakfast, the business breakfast. We shall see.
The other one I forgot to mention with the 7.5 for the
Yeah.
supplemental support staff salaries was the $1.5 million that's cut from the children's mental health services.
Yeah.
So-
I'm trying to get more information on that, because the explanation we were given on that one in budget sub was, well, that's redundant, that's redundant services, that's covered in this other thing. So I'm trying to get more information about that, because I don't want to push hard on it unless I know what I'm pushing on. So I'm just trying to make sure I have all my information about that. So if anybody in this room or if folks within the district want to talk about like what those funds look like,
Sure.
that would be really helpful.
Yeah, we can give you some information on that.
So I know I talked with, there was one other piece of the house education budget that really kind of made my antenna go up, which was striking or cutting or disbanding I'm gonna forget what the name of the council is, but essentially an entire council that has to do with special education. And why would we cut this council? It's interesting. And what we were told, well, it's redundant. There's another council that's doing the exact same thing. So I looked at it. Well, it turns out that Director Snow created a council under her that's not appointed by the governor and going through Senate confirmation to do the same thing, so that we could cut this council that does go through Senate confirmation. Now, I will say, I have heard from our local AEA that they are doing their job, like that council is working well and is responsive, so I'm probably not gonna go after that too hard, but we're trying to find out. That's kind of like when we get,
Yeah.
told something is redundant, we try to track it down. Know what that really means.
Yeah.
So the second, we declined to confirm 2 people this week, and one of them was an education person. One of them was Todd Abrahamson, who was one of the architects of the dismantling of the AEAs.
Right, I saw that.
We declined to confirm his reappointment to the Board of Education.
Makes sense.
Now you're gonna have a new regent.
And another one, I'm sure that's going to be an interim appointment.
So Janice, how does that leave the BOE then in terms of people?
End up appointing, they can't appoint him again because they don't seem inclined to use this other process, even though in like procedural whatever, Senator Clemmers flipped his vote to no, so he could ask for a motion to reconsider. There's no indication that they are going to ask for a motion to reconsider on that. He has to be gone within 60 days. I'm sure the governor will appoint someone else in the interim, but can't appoint the same person.
We are at that point in the year where random pieces of policy that seem to be dead
Yeah.
for over a year can suddenly pop up again. The chaplain bill was on the debate calendar in the Senate this past year. Thankfully, it did not get a vote. But as negotiations are ongoing, if somebody has a pet project that happens to be horrible for our schools, or great for our schools, I'm just being realistic, it may pop back up. So, we're all trying to keep our eyes open for that. But if you hear about,
You basically have to keep your eyes peeled all the time, because it's that weird time of session when, as Eleanor says, bills can come back up, or they end up
As a
pending pieces of policy to budget bills, which is not supposed to happen, but does. And then the very final bill is likely to be a huge Christmas tree. The final budget bill
Yeah, standing.
standings.
Very interesting number in here, 25% of charter schools close within 5 years.
Yep. That was,
I mean, we have lots of issues with the charter school bill, including the for-profit folks who come in and they're essentially trying to create, at least in the Senate bill, because I sat in on the appropriations committee meeting on that, they're essentially trying to create two different classes of charter schools, the legacy charter schools and then these new charter schools that would not have
shiny.
that would not have to abide by a lot of these public school standards.
So is that the case then that, well, I know, like, for instance, the school that was highlighted in the NPRPs was the one that Rick had put a bunch of money into. And so are you saying that the new push is to widen the door to more of that?
Yeah, but I can't tell you at this point, because I haven't seen anything that we're going to debate next week. My sense is that they, at least from talking to this Senate Republican leadership, they're going to try and get through as much as they possibly can next week. And minus maybe property tax and maybe one other thing sort of attached to property taxes. I do have some confidence that they're trying to hold the line on on a fair amount of stuff that is crazy or not needed. They just want to do what needs to be done to get out. But no idea. But that said, the leadership on the Senate side is even more inexperienced in leadership than I am, and so they're sort of dealing with this all for the first time because Clemens is in his first session. First session is leadership.
You hardly qualify as an experience.
I mean, we're at a point in the session where literally the big news is so-and-so walked across to somebody so-and-so's office. Like, this is news, because we're all waiting. So, we're all trying to run around and make sure we have our ducks in a row for when we're suddenly debating bills that we haven't seen yet and won't see until maybe 4 hours before we debate them.
And this is where you tend to end up with late nights as well, and you end up with Legislative Services Agency having to frantically draft, and that takes some hours. The only thing at this point that we, aside from appointments to some extent, the only thing that we control is the clock. So we will take the time that we need.
We don't control the clock.
Well, in terms
They
we will take, if we get new bills, if we get new language, we will take the time that we need to go through it, so that we know what we're dealing with and we're not just.
Well,
But the other reason to go all the way through next week, if possible, and not come back except maybe for one day, is if you then if you then open up a whole new week, people are going to come up with all sorts of other wild things that they would love to have passed, or love to have discussed, and point in case that the Charlie Thompson's thing about the
Warrant.
warrant relief, warrant court in Des Moines.
Well, my sense is because of the state of the governor's race, there's many Republicans who have had pet projects for years and feel that there may be a clock on how much longer they have to get that done.
fair. I think that's fair.
And so they want this to be the year.
Yeah, that's fair.
My pet project is not done yet, but we're gonna get it there.
I believe in you.
well, what's your pet project?
Don't say it out loud. Then they'll know.
It's a good piece of zoning reform that would help construction of more multifamily here in Iowa City and around the state.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So you think you can get that passed?
well, we've got it through the House and the Senate. And the
We just
Senate
waited.
has to take one small
We
amendment.
waited until
we'll be done.
Adam wasn't there one day and then we passed it for him.
That is true.
Wait,
The
was
one
it
day I
there?
missed this year.
The one day.
The one
Adam
day I
was-
missed this
was
year,
the
the
day
House passed it,
It's
but,
so fast. And I even
which
voted-
also happened
and I
last
even-
year with the different
and I
bill.
even
Didn't even get to vote on your own bill.
I don't think that's an accident.
Yeah, second year in a row. Sometimes it helps for me not to be there because
Right.
I'm a bit of a kindergarten.
He wasn't- he wasn't there, so I voted for him.
What's that number?
HF 2636. Yeah, and the Senate just has to get it on the calendar and make a small amendment, and then it'll be on the governor's desk. And I have thought for a long time that more school boards and Brady's not here, but teachers' unions need to be in the housing conversation because when we talk about the demographics of the district, that has a lot to do with the housing policy of the communities the district serves.
You see it in which buildings have the highest and most stable elementary enrollments
Yeah.
throughout the district.
I would say, yeah, these two guys right here could talk to both of them a lot. Charlie and Mitch both talk about that a lot, about the intersection with how school boards, don't really have a voice in that housing conversation too much, and,
But they could have, they should at least pay attention. It's hard to figure out what you pay attention to. It's an important issue, obviously.
yeah.
And back, I think maybe in the 80s or so, when I was really involved as affordable housing and the Housing Fellowship, we had project after project after project where that supermajority issue would come up.
Yes.
And it really made a reason getting the necessary zoning for affordable housing development impossible.
You're talking about the city council
So-
supermajority.
Yeah,
So this bill would eliminate the supermajority requirement.
Ability.
So there's a supermajority requirement to establish multifamily
So if
housing?
you want
or
to do rezoning, there is a provision in state law that says if 20% of the homeowners or landowners within, I think it's 200 feet of the project, sign a petition, it then requires a supermajority.
Oh.
So,
So that happened.
a neighbor of mine who used to be on the city council would go, from house to house in the neighborhood, get his 15 signatures, and then all he had to do was convince one more counselor, and you could block, hundreds of new units, and that happened several times.
The objectors did not have to any reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So they could do it because it's affordable housing.
Exactly.
Right, you just sign it.
It's like the NIMBY provision that doesn't
Yeah.
need to.
So this would empower the city government, if the majority of them want to build this to get it done, so.
And is it called the Zabner Bill?
It is not called the
Oh,
Senate.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And actually, it's Judd Lawler on the Republican side, also from Johnson County, who has put a lot of work into making this happen.
West
so
Tiger.
Very appreciative of him on that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get Judd to come to a legislative forum.
Yeah, I don't think we want that.
I would love that.
I'm being recorded right now.
I would love that.
He comes to other forums.
He comes to the law enforcement forum.
He's been to some, that's a couple other things that he's mentioned.
and Christmas Eve.
Any other questions for our legislators?
Well, again, thank you guys for your work. Oh, sorry, Lori.
Well, I know this is school related,
Yeah.
but from Mayor Corwell, and would like to just mention about the property taxes again. And first of all, I want to thank you so much for all the areas that you're working in at the state. And just thank you that you've made it this far, and you've done some great bills passing this year, and we really appreciate that, and we appreciate all the time that you give. There's two things that, as a city person, one is to restore the bipartisan property tax provisions passed in the Senate proposal, and then in the House proposal, the TIF provisions are good. So those would be, if those could jive together, that would be good for cities and for the community. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think, we can't have from my perspective, we can't have a hard cap. You have to-
Right, yeah, that's really being debated right now.
And that's part of
It's
why.
a fair way of
I
saying it.
know, that's probably
That's
why
part of
you're
why
just
we voted
letting them
against that
be,
in this bill. So,
yeah.
That's what-
Yeah. They also won't lower property taxes, but,
Right?
Right, that's,
That's,
yes.
that's another good reason.
yeah.
Um,
It was very funny to see Republicans on the floor, essentially say, yeah, those last three property taxes with bills we did in 2023 and 2017, those weren't serious. They didn't do anything. Like,
One of the other issues with the House bills, it would leave House File 718 running in the background, which is not helpful for last one. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that a number of the provisions in the Dawson bill are there on purpose to be used as bargaining chips. You don't want this? Fine. You don't want this? Fine. Whatever. So we'll see.
My prediction is that they'll end up doing something that's very small and not very consequential, but I've been wrong a lot, so.
But you on record?
I mean, on record, here's my prediction, but don't put any faith in it. I think it's really just, I mean, it's just how I feel today.
And I know this is a very partisan statement, but if there had been real leadership in the state, prior to session starting, the governor would have gathered.
Would put all the leaders
Would
in
have
a
brought
room.
the Republican leaders from both sides.
In
and
September.
Said, like September, October, it said, let's sit down. Essentially, we're not leaving the room until we come up with a mutually agreed upon plan that we'll run it through computers, that we'll come back in 2 weeks and see if it works and come up with our, and then we will submit that and pass it early in the session. And so the fact that this is session 2 where they've been arguing about competing bills and really further apart now than they were some weeks ago, it's just.
Yeah.
And we've worked hard modeling what, you know, if they say this, what will that look like for our budget? If it's over here, how will that? It's been a lot of effort and energy, and maybe that's good, you know, so maybe it'll come out.
Yeah, I
For
think
the
I
best.
went in and talked to the Iowa
The
City.
Senate's the best.
Yeah, the city and county auditor, assessors are like,
Yeah.
here's the 95 different versions of how this could play out.
And one of the challenges is also, it's, you know, very different cities have very, very different
Yes.
budgets and situations.
Yes.
And, you know, if you're Waukee or Clive and you have a new subdivision every year, that's very different than if you're.
If you're Hills.
You know, Hills, yeah,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with that leadership statement. I mean, there's a lot better way to do this. The property taxes are so complex. And so you pull all these different pieces and it just is confusion across the whole state.
Right.
It's not the best look and not effective. So thank you for hanging in there. I know it's a lot of like, I'm sure every day it changes where you don't, you know, you learn something and then you got to relearn it, then you got to relearn it. And at the end of the day, you ask yourself, what are we doing?
That's where I get tremendous kudos to our staff. We have one staff member in particular who has been going through every single property tax iteration and giving us comparisons and such like,
Right.
so.
I mean, it also helps when, like, I'm starting to lose track of things and all of a sudden I get an email from Greater Iowa City that reminds me of something I
Yeah.
forgot. So Mackenzie's doing a good job.
She's killing it. Yeah.
I think I texted you, like yesterday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. That was helpful.
Yeah.
One thing on the Purple Star piece, person that probably deserves a shout out and some credit, or if you see them, Sheila Pinter, when Sheila had students in the district, had kind of pushed us pretty hard to continue to make sure the military compact was implemented and to be looking out for children of our veterans. And so if any of you see her, you know, it's probably just her continued push that when that came across our email, we said, yep, we want to jump on that, we want to do it. So, you know, give her a thank you for that.
Well, and I will say, if I'm just speaking from my end, it would be really great to see that expanded to some of the elementary schools. Because just, especially like having been a middle school teacher in a military town, there's overlapping stuff going on with like 10 to 14-year-olds. And when they do, you know, when they're dealing with all that is being a pre-adolescent and also they have a deployment in their life, it's a lot. So.
A lot of my earlier career was with migrant students, and it's kind of the same challenge, right? You go to all these different schools and then try to, especially for the high school kids, to try to keep credits straight and get credit accumulation to get towards graduation. It gets really hard. So
yeah, as you go down the age groups, I feel like it's more of the I'm
That is
allowed
the
to say the word
social,
social emotional outside out loud, but in this room at least still.
Yeah.
I got my own experience with that as a foreign service officer, hauling kids from school to school and country to country.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great to just see, it was such the schools that were recognized for the inaugural honor were really from all different types of schools, all different age groups, all over the state. It was very nice to have ICCS be part of that. So.
Well, thank you. I can't even keep up. I mean, your days must just be crazy. I just can't quite But anyway, kudos to you, you can. If there isn't anything else, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.